four important pillars in our strategy are customer-centric, operational excellence, sustainability and digitalization. In line with our strategy, we are moving from a shipbuilder to a maritime solution provider.
All that requires us to make a step change in what we are doing, and we need a platform like 3D Experience to make that happen.
When you look at shipbuilding, it's really complex. We have a lot of data which we use to produce a vessel.
For us, the trick is not in the complexity of one single vessel, it's the complexity of having 20 or 30 standard ship types and building them on 4 building locations with hundreds of suppliers. And it is not sustainable or scalable if you have point solutions for every single ship type.
So we're taking out the complexity by arranging standard systems, standard products, standard production lines. The most important thing about it is collaboration.
Our view on product development is it's first about commonality. What can you design? What parts, what systems, what assemblies that you can reuse across as many ship types as possible. Managing that whole orchestra of things requires a platform as powerful as 3D Experience, where all that information is brought together in a logical way and a traceable way to actually come up with more innovative solutions.
Today, one division is live, our naval division for the defense industry, with more than 800 users, and we are now implementing in our workboats division.
I think it's important that we have now one source of truth, so everybody from design till the engineering and production is working in the same model, having the same view on the data. Change management will be within 3D Experience much more reliable, as we can see the change is really true to the whole organization and what the effect is of the changes.
The 3D Experience is going to help us make better products because we will be less prone to mistakes, and the feedback that we get from our customers, our production facilities, our own engineering teams can be much easier managed and translated into product improvement very quickly.
Our ultimate dream for the future is that we have a complete digital twin.
By having a digital twin of the entire vessel, but also the entire production chain, you can start optimize virtually and then bring it to floor.
We really believe in the platform. We believe in one data model, and we believe that we need this for the future and to improve ourselves.
All those new technologies, new ways of working, new ways of interacting with the virtual world and the real world really provide us with lots of potential further growth and further impact, positive impact on our society and the world around us.
Hello everybody, and thank you very much for joining us today for the forthcoming presentation on boat building, speeding up the development and manufacturing of boat series by Dassault Systèmes. Before we begin, I want to ask that if you have any questions for the speakers, then please write them into the comments section, and I'll endeavour to ask your question at the end of the presentation during the Q&A session. Without further ado, let's introduce today's speakers. Firstly, we have Jean Benoit, who, as any good sailor, has 2 caps. As a strategy analyst, he is in charge of the definition of the strategy at Dassault Systèmes' M&O portfolio, conducting market analysis and defining updates on the solutions to match the latest trends. And also, as a business consultant, he is in charge of pre-sale activities, engaging closely with all the maritime ecosystem across Northern Europe to embark on the journey towards building virtual twin worlds to enhance the real world business. Our second speaker, Antoine, is the solution leader for the Sea Boat Builder solution at Dassault Systèmes. He specializes in creating and enhancing industry-specific solutions for the boat building industry. His role involves leveraging industry trends and customer insights to deliver game-changing value through the 3D Experience platform. He collaborates closely with customers, R&D and sales teams to ensure the solutions meet the evolving needs of the market, while also developing effective sales enablement materials and identifying new opportunities for innovation. So for this presentation, Benoit, and Antoine will delve into the topic of transformative changes within the boat building industry, how to optimize the boat building process, the best solution to manage options and variants, and how digital manufacturing can enhance production efficiency and reduce costs without compromising quality. So, gentlemen, without further ado, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Good morning, good afternoon to all of you, wherever you are in the world. Today, I'm very lucky to be sitting next to Antoine, who is the Industry Solution Experience Leader. And Antoine, I have many questions to ask you to understand how boat series builders are dealing with the challenges of the industry. And if you like me, you have a specific requests, make sure to type your questions in the chat and we will answer them at the end of the webinar. For those of you who are new to Dassault Systèmes, let me just take a minute to get everyone on the same page. So we are a French headquartered software company, enabling our 350,000 clients globally to create virtual twins using capabilities such as modeling, simulation, data intelligence, and all that supporting anything from startups to large corporations. The 3D Experience platform is represented by the blue compass that you have on the left side on the slide, underpinned by brand applications in 4 quadrants. So you have simulation apps, you have collaborative apps, modeling apps, and information intelligence apps. Building on this, we serve 12 different industries with tailored packages to address their specific challenges, and obviously the most beautiful of all being marine and offshore. As I see the market today, the boat building industry is undergoing transformative changes driven by growing market demands, with an expected compound annual growth rate of 6.5% by 2028. This leads to a pressing need for yacht and boat builders to keep pace with market demands and trends by rapidly introducing new models. Within just a few years, the total addressable market for leisure boats will include the generation Z, the Gen Z. And these new customers are undoubtedly sensitive to sustainability and new ways to sail, especially what we call effortless sailing. We see an increased demand for electric propulsion and associated foiling experience, a rising interest for autonomy, more connectivity, and smart features that serve, again, an easier sailing experience. Evolving customer expectations for performance and functionality have resulted in a push to integrate advanced systems in boat design. As such, boat builders have to address consumer preferences by offering a high level of configurability while addressing both competitive pricing pressure and market volatility. In 2022, the global leisure boat market represented $19 billion, with electric leisure boat market counting for more than 15%. So electric boat is really a key subsegment, which is subject to drive the future leisure boat markets. And in 2028, in just 2 years, this share is expected to rise up to 20%. This new electric propulsion system can either be integrated as retrofit or from scratch, leading the path to the development to new kind of hull designs. And you are not without knowing the rise of the foils in the industry, made possible thanks to lower energy consumption as the boat lifts off. However, the integration of such electrical systems, batteries, energy management systems, navigation assistance have made boat design more complex. And another level of complexity has been reached with the adoption and development of fuel cells, which are supporting this new trend of electrification. So Antoine, how naval architects are dealing with this new complexity and how are they adapting their ways of working?
So, hello everybody. Thank you, Jean-Benoit, for your question. I think naval architects face at least 2 main challenges with the electrical transformation of the sector and the innovation of complex systems. The first one is the integration of systems into the ship's design. And the second one is at the same time ensuring that these systems comply with certification standards and the new environmental regulations. So the first point about integration into new boat designs, the integration of electric propulsion system must be taken into account right from the initial design phase. This means choosing the right type and size of battery and finding the optimum placement according to weight distribution, make sure the battery is easily accessible for maintenance or replacement. And as you said, we can also think about retrofitting boats, which is becoming more and more topical with the new regulations that will arrive in the coming years. So we need to take into account the constraints of the existing design and the requirement of the electrical systems, which may involve important modification to the structure of the boat and some changes in cable routing that sometimes can be tricky. So to manage those changes in the 3D experience platform, our customer use control points in the 3D, and the cable routing is automatic between electrical components, enabling modification to be made to the 3D structure while at the same time monitoring the impact on the cable routing. So my second point was emerging regulation, so how to comply with the emerging regulation while integrating those systems. Because as the maritime industry goes to electric propulsion, certification companies are developing new standards to ensure the safety, performance, and reducing the environmental impact of the systems. These regulations cover various aspects such as noise pollution, battery safety, electromagnetic compatibility, and these standards are evolving rapidly, necessitating that designers and engineers stay informed and comply with the latest regulations. So the challenge is that they need to access to up-to-date component catalogs that reflect the latest regulation. To streamline the design process, modern naval architecture increasingly relies on software that integrate these updated component catalogs. This allows designers to easily select components that are certified and compliant at the same time, reducing the risk of error, of course, and ensuring that the final product meets all regulatory requirements. In that way, designers and all stakeholders of the shipyard have access to a single source of truth. And this single source of truth makes the link between the 3D model, 2D schematics that are linked together and always up to date with those regulations.
Okay, thank you very much, Antoine. So we've covered the electrical systems, but what about mechanical systems like foils, for instance? How do engineers integrate these new systems?
Yes, of course, for mechanical systems, we are facing similar challenges than for electrical systems in managing space on the boat, but we also have the complexity of kinematics and the need to handle structural loads on the vessel. Because a typical mechanical system on a boat is a steering system, including rudders, wheel systems, and sometimes an autopilot. However, today, as you said, we are also implementing foils, which means significant loads that must be absorbed by the structure of the boat. And in both cases, we must validate the design quickly through kinematic and mechanical simulations if we want to innovate rapidly. And this requires saving time on the design process and establishing best practice in the design. For example, in CATIA, we rely on a methodology that we call the skeleton structure. And this methodology, skeleton, guides the generation of surfaces and solids. This structure can be easily parameterized, allowing for quick modification of the design of surfaces, such as the hull, or any mechanical part in the boat. And by having a unified environment with simulation, the model is automatically updated with kinematic and mechanical properties, which is what a platform like the 3D experience enables.
Very well, thank you, Antoine. So we've just seen how engineers and naval architects are addressing the challenges to build more complex ships in a quest for more energy efficient boats. But sustainability is also deeply embedded down into the bottom hull of a boat. And did you know actually that it was Charlemagne who, in the 8th century, introduced flax crops in Normandy? Today, more than 80% of the world's flax is grown in France. So should we say that Charlemagne had already a focus on sustainability? I'm not sure, but it's a fact. Flax is a renewable material grown without excessive use of chemicals. And in comparison, the manufacture of fiberglass requires energy-intensive and polluting processes, contributing to the overall carbon footprint of the end product. By the use of this new material like flax, but the use of this new material like flax does not come easily, as it requires careful testing, trials and errors. And here, the simulation can really speed up the process of the qualification. The annual volume of composite waste generated by the marine industry each year reaches 55,000 tons. And it is predicted to increase by 10% every year in the near future, as more and more leisure boats are coming to the end of life. Glass reinforced plastic, commonly known as fiberglass, is really the wonder material that created the modern leisure marine industry back in the 60s, transforming what was once an artisanal, predominantly wood-based industry into the high-volume mass production model that we know today. It is very difficult to recycle and value fiberglass wastes. But today, we see the development of new resins to make recyclable thermoplastic composites. It is perfectly suited for building more sustainable and recyclable boats. But again, here, how do we test these new materials? And in order to take into account all the positive contribution of these innovations, it is essential to have a tool to capture this new value brought to sustainability. And this is what life cycle analysis is offering. And we already see it starting in the ocean regattas, and more specifically with the French one, the Figaro race. So, Antoine, do we have the tools to address this challenge posed by the adoption of new materials?
Yeah, of course, using new materials like bio-based composites or recycled fibers, as you said, instead of well-established materials like carbon fiber or fiberglass, present many challenges for engineers and designers, and we need to have the tool for implementing them into the boat design. The first challenge I see is managing material properties, because carbon fiber and fiberglass are well known for their predictable behavior, mechanical properties, including the tensile strength, stiffness, durability. And in contrast, new materials often lack of extensive historical data, making it more challenging to predict their behavior under different loads, environmental conditions. And engineers need to conduct more extensive testing and rely on advanced simulations to characterize these new materials accurately. The second challenge I see is for the manufacturing process adaptation, because the established manufacturing process for carbon fiber and fiberglass, such as hand layup, resin transfer modeling, they are optimized for those materials. And new materials may require adjustments to these processes. For example, different curing temperatures or pressures, or even alternative layup techniques maybe need to be developed to handle different materials behaviors, because there can be a greater elasticity or different resin flow characteristics. And that's why engineers need efficient composite solution to provide a comprehensive toolset that will integrate the composite design, structural analysis, and also include all the manufacturing process to allow boat builders to incorporate eco-friendly materials right from the conceptual stage. And by embedding manufacturing constraints early in the design process, we can avoid extensive redesign later. And in the 3D experience, we can model and optimize composite plies, validate designs with numerical analysis in a single unified environment, accelerating the design process. But of course, as you know, acceleration is not only for the design process, but it's for the overall process until the boat go to the market.
Yeah, absolutely. And indeed, in the area of hyper customization, it is essential to offer to your customers a personalized boat. Your client, they identify to a brand, to a type of sailing, but most of all, they want to feel unique. And how do you address this challenge, especially on series boats, where standardization is a cornerstone of efficient and cost-controlled production? This challenge is even more sensitive when faced with the need to enrich your product line to address a wider range of customers. Are you offering models that can be declined in cruise, regatta, a mix of both, maybe even charter? All these combinations increase the complexity both in the engineering phase and the manufacturing phase. Do you have a robust supply chain to deliver all parts in time? Are all the models produced in the same location? So Antoine, can I pick and choose options in my boat design, a bit like if I was doing my kitchen on the IKEA website or even on the Home by Me application powered by Dassault Systèmes?
Yeah, indeed, that's exactly what we would like to do. That's what we want to do. And today there is a way of managing a customizable product line with what we call a 150% model. The principle is that we draw a kind of a super model of the boat, which includes all possible configurations. And then we filter those configurations. We filter this model to retain only valid configuration ready to be industrialized. For example, if we are designing a catamaran, we can make design choices toward cruising or design choices toward racing, or maybe we want to make a mix of both, having like a racing, a cruising profile boat. So therefore, we will design the catamaran with in the single model a big mast, a small mast, maybe a medium mast, an electrical propulsion, a classic propulsion, so many different options. And then we can pre-configure different configurations ready for production. So if the current trend of the market is, so the customer expectations is to build a more cruising catamaran, and the next day the trend is changing and we want to have a more racing catamaran, we are able to quickly adapt the product line by mixing configurations and launching them rapidly into production.
Okay, and indeed, you're talking about launching into production, which allows me to make a smooth transition to manufacturing. And when I talk with boat builders CEOs during fairs, they all tell me the same thing. They have difficulties to find skilled workforce. Having the trained operator to perform complex tasks, like ply layering, for instance, is really challenging. Such operations, which are actually more craftsmanship, are not taught overnight. And having the ability to simplify complex processes to upskill workers quickly is really critical. We discussed it previously on sustainability. Material waste is a focus on every shop floor. So a rigorous control of material applied allows to reduce cost and obviously score on sustainability company goals. Linked to this point is a challenge to increase production rate by connecting engineering to more automated machines, like CNC machines, for instance. Those machines offer benefits such as more precision, repeatability, and efficiency. But here again, they require a significant investment cost. They take place in the workshop, and they may struggle with large parts which will need to be produced into sections. And finally, integrating CNC machines with traditional manual craftsmanship can create workflow challenges and may require new coordination efforts. And on manufacturing, finally, when launching new models or integrating new pieces of equipment, it is essential to make sure that you have the right assembly sequence, anticipate clashes, estimate time to complete tasks. And as it is rightly said in the Hallberg-Rassy video that you will hear in a few minutes, it is how not to make a prototype of your product, but hull number one in the design.
So, of course, Jean-Benoît, I don't have the answer to the question of how to hire qualified personnel in your shipyard, because that will be an HR conference. But however, manufacturers facing a shortage of a skilled workforce have to find alternatives to continue to maintain a high level of quality while keeping a good production rate. And to achieve this, shipyards are relying more and more on accurate, complete, and up-to-date work instruction. So there is not just having more and more machine, more and more electronic equipment. What we want to have is to visualize each step of the work instructions for the operator right on the product line. And by visualizing in the 3D model those work instructions, even complex tasks become easier to understand for the operator. And so we have a big documentation incorporated in the 3D model of the boat. And this integrated documentation can even be used to skill up the newcomers in the company. And about what you said about anticipating the planning of building and managing new boats in the product line, what I can say is that with a virtual shipyard, we are now able to virtually follow the assembly simulations of the boats and check for any collision or space-related error issues, thus allowing us to better anticipate the manufacturing schedule overall.
Thank you, Antoine. And finally, let's finish with collaboration. And it's not just a buzzword in engineering and even between engineering and manufacturing. It happens more than we think, but shop floors might be or are working on the wrong drawing revisions. It seems quite bold, but it is a common mistake. And I remember it from my time when I was working in the oil and gas industry, following subcontractors for a large EPCI contractor. It happened that the shop floor was working on an outdated revision of a drawing, leading to rework. Especially when you subcontract several parts and systems, it is essential to make sure that all stakeholders are up to date at all times. And a mailbox and an Excel is certainly not enough to follow up product developments, which are getting more and more complex. I also often hear we collaborate, we exchange by emails. So don't get me wrong, this is a form of collaboration, but it is really the first level. Leveraging cloud capabilities allows to ensure that all company stakeholders have access to the latest data in one place at all time. No more saving and storing files and less IT constraints. But there is nothing better than hearing it from a client. So this is the Hallberg-Rassy testimony following the launch of their Hallberg-Rassy 69 at the Düsseldorf Boat Show earlier this year. So we are now going to play the video, Jonathan.
The typical Halberasi customer expects a well-built boat that is easy to handle for long-distance sailing, effortless sailing. That's really important.
To design and engineer our boats, the main issue is the time schedule. With the virtual twin, we can reduce the time to market with 50 to 60%.
We use the 3D experience platform so we can look at the boat before we actually build it, and we can build many different prototypes in the computer. So once we start to build a real boat, it's not a prototype, it's hull number one in the serial production, and that's really good. Each new Halberasi model is a step forward, and the newest model we present now is a Halberasi 69. It's the largest we ever built.
When we start designing a new boat, we always have a concept, how big it is, what should be included, and what style it should be compared to other models. And then we start with the GA, General Arrangement Plan, and check if everything fits, and then we have to adapt the measurements. We start, of course, with the hull, and then we put in the interior. In the 3D experience, we start with the interior, change the hull after that, and then do the weight calculations, weight distributions, and also where to put the strong points of the boat. We combine surface and solid modeling in one setup, and that gives us a big step forward. Yeah, the biggest value to incorporate all the pipings and so on is that we can plan the routing ways and do not damage the structure, so we keep the boat as solid as it should be. With the virtual twin, we can easily show and also put in people with certain dimensions and how to reach things, installations, so on.
It's everything to have this virtual twin. Everyone sees the same thing, so it's very visual how it will look when we are finished. In 3D experience, it's much easier to switch the apps and get the different functions from surface treatment to part or to simulation.
With 3D experience on cloud, all the data are up to date in the model all the time. And the 3D experience platform makes us collaborate easier, and we produce it directly from 3D experience CAD. The main driver to 3D experience platform from V5 was to have a scalable solution for us, and I really recommend 3D experience on cloud to other companies. It's the best.
And in conclusion, I just would like to emphasize how we showed in our presentation the path to multidisciplinary collaboration, the simulation validation process, especially when it comes to new materials, and how it allows to connect engineering to manufacturing, offering more accurate work instructions. Ultimately, and this is the quote you have on the left side on the screen, the benefit for adopting our solutions is to be more agile, ensure quality, and save time and money. I hope you found this presentation interesting, and Antoine and I and all the marine and offshore team at Dassault Systèmes, we are available to get involved in your specific projects and company transformation. Thank you very much, Antoine, for your insights.
Thank you, Ribe.
And Jonathan, back to you.
Great, gentlemen. Thank you ever so much. Wow. What a great video there at the end to see the work that you're doing actually come into fruition. Brilliant. I love the 3D model with the, being able to replicate people actually sitting in the boat. So that's very good. Excellent. I was quite impressed with that. So yeah, it's impressive results, really, that you're showing there in sort of helping the development and efficiency of shipbuilding and retrofitting, especially complying with the new regulations coming in for boats to adapt and implement new systems, as well as the planning, manufacturing, shop floor working and skilled workforce shortages that your system and software is certainly helping with. I have a couple of questions myself. I just wanted to go back to near the start of the presentation, where you were talking about keeping your system and catalogs up to date with the regulatory compliance for boats. How do you at Dassault Systèmes then keep your catalogues, for example, up to date with all the changes and new compliant regulation laws coming through?
So, sorry, maybe I didn't get. We had like
how are you keeping your system and catalogues up to date?
Okay, so for catalogs about electrical and so we have I spoke about systems, so we have electrical systems, and we have also the implementation of tubing and piping. So we have like different kind of systems, and what we can make is firstly the link between those catalogs and the schematics, which is linked to the 3D model, and all those catalogs can be linked to our interface, and we will define ourselves the standards, and we have the ability to define those standards from the catalogs that you will import in the 3D experience. So it's not directly Dassault Systèmes catalogs, but we have the ability to drive them with the standards that are built by the user of the software.
Oh, right. Okay. Excellent. Great. Thank you for that. And then also as well, going into the design process. So how do you integrate more sustainability into it?
Yeah. So good question. Because we spoke about two ways already to have more sustainability in the design process. The first one was to use new eco-material and to incorporate it. The other one was with systems, how to incorporate new systems to, let's say, have less fuel consumptions. But of course, when we are building a boat, we want to have sustainability on the overall process, not only on the design studies. And one way is to have everything from the material sourcing until the boat decommissioning. And this is called life cycle assessment, and this is something needed to assess all the effort made by the shipyard to reduce the CO2 emissions. So in the 3D experience, we have a tool enabling us to just assess what are the CO2 emissions, fossil depletions, many other metrics for any human activities from material sourcing until the decommissioning of the boat. So we want to know what is the CO2 emissions of the material sourcing, of any related activities on the shipyard, and then we will have the global picture and have some metrics to assess what is the real impact of your boat production on the environment. And the important thing is also to, as I said, to comply with regulations. We have more and more regulations. So in this case, we have the standards, European standards, international standards that are incorporated in the soft, and that way we can have a true idea of what are the effort to reduce CO2 emissions, not only incorporating new materials, but really what is the impact of this effort.
Okay, excellent, Antoine. So have you seen sort of an uptake with the use of your solutions, with all the, I suppose, retrofitting ongoing to meet new regulations as such then?
For retrofitting boats, the point was when you want to implement like a new battery on your boat, you want to incorporate it in a way that will not damage the existing structure, and to be sure that the structure will be able to handle the new efforts, the new weight distribution, and so on. And what we have is the ability to see in the 3D model, as you saw in the Albert Rassi video, indeed, how is the path of the tubing, the electrical system everywhere in the design, and to be sure that you will not damage the structure, so you can really see easily how your system is integrated in the existing design.
So that, would you say your solution's quite easy to implement?
Maybe Jean-Benoît, I can let you this one.
Yes, I think it's a good question, Jonathan, and I would give a straight yes. Because we address a wide range of clients, anything from hyper luxury customized yacht builders to more series builders, and then we have a solution which can answer all their challenges.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Brilliant. Yeah, I'd just like to remind the audience as well, if you have any questions for the speakers, now's the time to ask them, please. And we have one from the audience here, a gentleman by the name of Johnny Chan. He's asked, how well proven is the platform for the naval and defense sector?
Well, it was not really the purpose of the webinar, but we have made another one on this very specific topic. And the 3D Experience platform with the marine and offshore solutions is used by a naval group, for instance, to help designing frigates and submarines. So yes, our platform is also used for naval shipyards as well as large commercial shipyards.
Brilliant. So it's adaptable across, for example, subsea and above sea platforms then?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. And just going back to implementing your solutions then, what about smaller companies then? Is your solution adapted for them as well as maybe larger shipyards, as you mentioned, Naval Group that you're working with?
Yes. Well, the good part of our solution is that you can implement, it's the scalability of the solution, basically. You can implement any disciplines and business processes that we have shown during the presentation to answer a very specific challenge, a specific need for our customer. And the second aspect of our solution is that it's on cloud, and this is really powerful because it allows you to quickly deploy it, quickly deploy your production environment through the on-cloud technology, and allows seamless upgrades of your solution. So
Okay.
yes, it's good for smaller companies as well.
Great, great. With the video that you showed, for example, of the sailing yachts just a couple of moments ago, how big is that shipyard then in Sweden that's using your solution?
It's a relatively big shipyard. They are very focused on high luxury sailboats. They give a very specific attention to quality, designing boats that last, with in mind to have what I presented at the beginning of the presentation, this notion of effortless sailing, to provide to the customer the best experience possible.
So yeah, you touched on using more eco-friendly materials then, for example. Do you find then that, for example, shipyards that are building high-class sailing boats and yachts are then pushing the boundaries and developing more sort of eco-materials to be used to actually build the hull and different systems and parts of the boat?
Yeah. Definitely, there are more and more things that are tried by shipyards. And last year, I was at the GEC World Conference in Paris. So a composite show in Paris, and there were like a big hull that was shown made with a new material made of flax, and this is really new, and the shape of every small part on the deck, for instance, are different. Really, it's something that is very challenging for the designer, because you don't have the same material properties, so you have to add more material, and at the same time managing that your boat is well floating, so it doesn't have exactly the same shape, and of course it's also a challenge for the manufacturing of those hulls. So it's really it's also funny to see those new kind of ship showing up. Yeah.
And maybe
Yeah.
also worth to add that, for instance, Beneteau, French boat manufacturer, boat builder, is launching new models using a new resin called helium resin, developed by Arkea, a French company, which is a recyclable resin, as we mentioned earlier during the presentation.
Wow. It's great. It's great to hear all the different eco-friendly materials being used and developed. And then, as you said, yeah, Antoine, it's, creating difficulties then for the design process, for example. But obviously, the Dassault Systèmes solution can help support designers in that process. Then, I imagine, quite well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because one of the strengths is that the design is linked to simulation capabilities. So when you are making some changes on the ship design, on the composite design, you can test it in a few minutes with no exchange between the design and the simulation tool. So you can validate your design very quickly, so innovation is faster. Yeah.
Perfect. And with these new materials that you're discussing, how long, we haven't got a crystal ball, but how long do you feel it will be until we're seeing much larger seafaring boats and vessels sort of adapt their large hulls and whatnot to use materials that are more eco-friendly?
I think for larger ships, it's going to take a little bit more time. But we see new kind of innovations, not necessarily linked to new materials, but for instance, sea bubbles on the hull to limit the friction when the boat is sailing. But it's going to take a bit more time, I think, to reach the larger yachts, larger ships.
Yeah, certainly the development work, I'm sure, is ongoing in depth. And we have another question here from the audience. Janu has asked, I'm interested on sustainability review for specific products as well as the whole project. And then he's asking, how powerful are the sustainability reports at the moment for the naval sector?
You mean with the Dassault Systèmes solution? Yeah. So the main strength of our tool is that it's linked to the 3D, so you can assess for each part what is the CO2 emission on the overall process. You can also divide it by design process, so you can have the CO2 emission for the design, CO2 emission for the production, CO2 emission for material sourcing, but of course not only CO2 emission, because reducing environmental impact is broader than that. It's also fossil depletion. There are many metrics that are coming from some regulation. We have some regulation coming from the European Union, and we are linked to the catalogs coming from those regulations. We have 5 standards that are implemented in the 3D experience in our tool, and so you know that you will have something that it can be trusted, and then we have like a nice way to show all the diagrams, all the figures coming from the analysis, to know exactly where you can make some changes on your design, or what is the environmental impact of any specific part of your boat. So it's really powerful in that way that there is a good scalability of the environmental impact assessment.
Brilliant, fantastic. It seems like a very good, up-to-date system, and very user-friendly as well for the designers and shipyards as such. Great, brilliant, gentlemen. Well, I want to thank you very much, Jean-Benoit and Antoine, for your interesting insights that you provided, enabling us to see the work that you're currently doing there. And I also want to thank you, the attendees, for taking part. And we hope this was insightful and knowledgeable for you too. If you wanted to speak with the presenters, then please contact them for further information and discussions. And before I close off, gentlemen, apologies, another question's just popped in by Marie-Jeanne. How do you achieve high customization of tool on cloud solution? There we go. I'll get that one in before we finish.
I think we will get back to Marie-Jeanne.
Great. Okay.
To write to us to give her a more detailed answer.
Yeah, fantastic. No worries. So Jean-Benoit or Antoine will reach out to you to give you more of a detailed answer on that. And as well, for all the other attendees, if you wanted to speak with the presenters, then please contact them for further information and discussions. I'm sure they'll be reachable on LinkedIn, as well as you've had time there seeing their details on screen as well for you to reach out directly. But gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for your presentation today, and thanks again to the audience for taking part.